Okay, in this video we're going to look at the cerebral arterial circle, or the circle of Willis as it's also known. And just to orient you, you're looking at the internal cranial vault here, so we have the anterior, middle, and posterior cranial fossa. So this is anterior, this is posterior. If you look in this posterior, you'll notice two vessels here, arteries. These are the vertebral arteries. If you remember, in bones you studied the transverse foramina of the cervical vertebrae. These are the arteries that run through those transverse foramina, and they come up and they join together to form this basilar artery, this single basilar artery. As this basilar artery comes up, it'll give rise to two arteries. You can only see remnants of them here. These are the posterior cerebral arteries that would feed back and feed the posterior of the brain. You'll see coming from those posterior cerebral arteries these two little segments called the posterior communicating arteries. Communicating because they're going to communicate with these two next segments. These are the internal carotid arteries. Now, if you remember studying bones, you had to learn the carotid foramen, where these internal carotid arteries came right up through the base of the skull into this cranial vault. If I bring this model in, this is the brainstem model with the thalamus attached, and you're looking at the anterior of this. So this model would actually sit in this cranial vault just like this. Now as it sits, we can pull this out and look, and here's the two internal carotids that are represented in both models. Right? So you see them here, and you see them here. So those internal carotids then are giving rise to two more cerebral arteries running laterally here, the middle cerebrals running here and here. These are running out to the sides. Again, if this model were placed inside the skull, those middle cerebrals are coming out this way, and again coming out this way. Also, if we look at this model, you'll see two more small segments coming off the internal carotid arteries. These are just remnants or representations of the anterior cerebrals, which will move forward from this point. And they're going to come up and around and feed the front of the brain. I have one more video to kind of reiterate that. Let me slide this out of the way. Bring this model in. This is a sagittal view now. Again, this is the anterior, this is the posterior, and here is your anterior cerebral arteries coming up and feeding back. So they're quite well established, but in the other models we don't really see that as well as we can see it here. So these three models represent all the parts of the circle of Willis.